Hello everyone and welcome back to another math video. Today we're going to be looking at how do you write exponential functions when given a table or a graph, so similar to these problems that you see up on the screen here. Just a reminder, this is the normal version of the lesson. If you'd like the speedrun version where we go very quickly, I will link that in the description below. All right, your Ricasso Recap starts now. Here is what you need to know before you start this lesson in 30 seconds or less. Firstly, you should already be familiar with how to graph points. Secondly, you should be familiar with how exponents work. And lastly, you should know how to solve equations. If you want refreshers on any of these three topics, I will link videos in the description below. Please go watch those before you start this lesson. All right, new lesson starts now. Here we go. So up on the screen, I have given you a graph on the left, a table on the right, and I've given you the answer. And what I would like you to try is pause the video and see if you can figure out, just from the graph or the numbers in the table, see if you can figure out how I came up with these answers. I'll give you a second to think here. Okay, now that you've had some time to think here, again, pause if you want more time. What you may have realized is that both of these have some things in common. For example, they both have y equals a number, parentheses, another number, parentheses, with an x in the power position, okay? And so we're going to call this number a and this number b. You may have also realized that the a value, the number in front of the parentheses, is the y-intercept, okay? Y-intercept is 3, which is why this is 3. The y-intercept here is -3, which is why this is -3, okay? So a is the y-intercept. Now b is definitely the hardest number to figure out, okay? It is, what we call it is the growth or decay rate, all right? And the way that you calculate it, the easiest way to calculate it is to make a table like this. So let's find some points on the graph. Let's use the y-intercept. So x and y would be 0, 3, cool. And we need another point. And let's use 1, 15. 1, 15. Now, very important here. The x numbers need to be separated by only 1. Okay, they need to be right next to each other. So we can use this, and then what you do is you divide the right y, the one on the right in your table, this y, divided by this y. So you do 15 divided by 3, not the other way around, right? You have to do the one on the right divided by the one on the left. So 15 divided by 3 is 5, and this is how they come up with this number here. For the table on the right, okay, you can use any of the numbers. Let's use the first two. So let's use the first two numbers. And again, I would always recommend setting it up in a table like this. And we go in order, right? -2 is -147, and -1 is -21. These are separated by one number, okay? And so now we do the right one divided by the left one. -21 divided by -147, which maybe you want to use a calculator for that, gives you 1/7, and that's how they come up with the 1/7 here. The only other thing I would say that's really, really important, the x values, when you set up this table, need to be going up from left to right, okay? So smaller number than a bigger number going this direction. All right, here's our cool clock for today, which means that it is time for you to practice what you just learned. Go ahead and pause the video and try these two problems on your own. And when you're ready, you can unpause the video and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. Okay, for the first problem, here is the work. You should have gotten y equals -5 parentheses 1/2 close parentheses to the x power. Remember, the number at the beginning of the parentheses is the y-intercept, so I got that from here. And then the growth or decay rate comes from dividing from my table, and so that's where I got the 1/2. And for the second problem, here is the work. You should have gotten y equals 3 parentheses 5 to the x power. All right, the last type of problem that you have in this lesson is they do not give you the y-intercept, okay? And you can't just look at this and say, well, it looks like it's 1/6, 1/8, okay? You have to find it out exactly. And the way you do that is, let's pick two numbers. Let's find our growth or decay rate. So let's set up our table, x and y. Let's do this point right here, which is 3 and -1. And then let's do 4 and -2. And now we divide the right by the left. So we're doing -2 divided by -1, which is 2. So this is our growth rate. This is B, right? This is the number that goes inside of the parentheses. And now remember, we said at the beginning, every number, let's set it up actually. Every exponential function looks like this, okay? Well, we found B, we just found it, it's 2. So let's change that to a 2. We don't know what A is because that's the y-intercept, and we are trying to find it, so let's leave it as A. And now for y and x, let's replace them with something from the table, okay? So for example, let's use 3 and -1. 3, -1. The y is -1, the x is 3. And now this is an equation we can solve because now I have -1 equals a, 2 to the 3rd power means 2 times 2 times 2, which is 8. And now we should know how to solve this, right? Divide by 8 on both sides, and we get a equals -1/8. And now we can write our final answer. This is the y-intercept. Okay, we just found the y-intercept. Now that we have the y-intercept, let's write our final answer. Y equals -1/8 parentheses 2 to the x power. And this is our final answer. So when they don't give you the y-intercept, you have to solve, you find the growth or decay rate, then you solve an equation to get the y-intercept. All right, time to practice. Go ahead and pause the video, try these two on your own. When you're ready, unpause and we'll check your answers. Okay, now that you've had time to work these problems, let's check your solutions. Okay, for the first problem, here is the work. Your final answer should have been y equals -1/5 parentheses 1/5 close parentheses to the x power. And for the second problem, here is the work. You should have ended up with y equals 1/6 parentheses 3 close parentheses to the x power. All right, that is it for today. I hope you all have a good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night.